Believe it or not, it's another VO podcast with three guys who are full-time voice actors at different stages of life, career, and location.
But they have formed a bond and work together to hold each other accountable and help each other on their VO path.
Three guys from different backgrounds working together, helping each other, and sharing with you along the way.
Hey, what are we calling it again?
It's another VO
podcast.
Okay, guys. Sorry, I get it. Come on, you're not my dads.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to another VO podcast. I'm Alden, and I'm here with Jake and Troy, and our guest that we have from time to time, Charles Coates, and our very, very special guest, Linda Bruno. We're glad you're listening, and everybody, how you doing? How's 2024 going for you?
Dude, 2024 has been awesome, and I called it at the end of last year. I think this year's going to be really dope for me, to be honest with you. I mean, like, I don't know what that's going to look like, and I don't necessarily mean like financially. I just think good things. I mean, like, I've just had good days since the year started. I think a lot of it has to do with just like some of the positive energy I've been putting into my life at the end of the year, and it's just like, I think it's just carrying over. So I'm just excited to see what happens. Sorry to kind of take over that question, but
No, that's
so
great.
excited to answer it. So.
I feel hopeful, but again, I felt very hopeful January 1st of 2020.
Ooh.
So
Sure. Yeah.
I'm a little hesitant and be like, I
Yeah.
just kind of, temper my enthusiasm. But
That's
it does
right,
feel like
yeah.
a hopeful year.
Now, forgive me for not knowing this, but were you already doing voiceover in 2020 by that point? I'm so sorry if I didn't know. I don't know, and I apologize because I had just started back in 2020, not because of the pandemic, but it happened soon after.
You should have researched me.
Yeah, Linda's a lifer. She's been doing this a while.
That's awesome.
In fact, let's segue that. And Linda, tell us how you got into voiceover, because you've been doing this a long time. You're one of the top pros, and let us hear how you got started and became the great voiceover talent you are.
Well, as you guys know, now that you're traveling the journey, it's a long one.
Mm-hmm.
And it took many years. So, I mean, I started training when I was 18. And I'm 54. And I got lucky that I was able to, be in that world at that time because there was no internet. Nobody knew anything about it. It was a very small group of people that did voiceover. I was down in Miami. But I had a really good opportunity to learn. And then my coach was like, you need to get to New York and work because you've got a lot of natural talent. So that's really what I needed to get started. But then I wound up in radio for 16 years, as so many of us are or have done. And, but still always kept voiceover as my main goal. So I never became like, I tried to keep my days free and work evenings. So I worked like 7 days a week for about 16 years to build my base. But I would say 2005 is when I really started to focus and hit it hard. Awesome. And then from there, so I've been doing VO consistently since 2005. We'll put it that way.
Amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
So, should have done my research.
Just really quick.
I love how these guys sometimes, like an hour before, are we doing a podcast today? Yeah.
That's
let me
the fun
send
of
you
it.
some questions.
That's the fun of it, though, for sure.
Really quick, Linda, when you say that, 2005 was when you kind of really focused, like what, can you explain that to me? Like what was that focus that was different from the beginning to that time?
So I had a life change in the form of a divorce happening. And, that really lights a fire under your ass, because I didn't have the fallback income of my husband. And so I thought, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I got to do it to survive. I was in a little studio apartment. I could barely pay my car bill. And I just said, you know what, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
And it just became that need of, I think everybody needs that motivation. You need that reason to work hard for something like this, to stay hungry. Because if you don't have it and everything's easy, you're like, I'm self-made or something with another business, then maybe you don't have the motivation to do VO and really stick it out. But that's really what started me because I had to.
Yeah.
You know, or get a regular job. And that was not going to be an option for me.
Right.
Right. Can't do it. You can't go back to once you've had the taste,
Oh, I know that entirely.
Yeah,
I
100%.
did that myself. I can't imagine leaving. I mean, I if I absolutely had to, I have like a couple of things in mind, but I can't myself. Like and somehow I keep making it. You know what I mean? So I
then
love
I'd
that
have to
stay hungry mentality.
I'd have to change my LinkedIn profile information again.
Yeah, like I don't want.
Nobody wants to do that.
Ah, come on.
What a
That's too
pain.
much
What a
work.
pain.
Yeah.
And that's pretty clear, Linda, as you've coached, I'm sure, many, many people over the years, that the ones that have a fire in them to succeed are the ones that make it.
Yes.
It's not just talent. We've seen that over and over again. We've heard that from other guests. So you talk about you had a fire under you that you were going to do this.
Yes, and I had an unwavering sense of self-confidence. That's another part of it too. So you have to address the ego that we are actors, and it's okay. You know what? Believe in yourself. You have to be the shit, and you got to believe you're the shit because you want other people to think that too. So call it cockiness, but it's not like you're going to go around and be bragging about it. It's just inside. You know? Inside you have to know. But I have to say, with all the students that have come through our doors, both online and in the studio, I would say 2% have gone on to really focus and do something with it.
Yeah.
And that's a very small percentage.
Yeah.
That's funny. That was one of the questions I had in part 2, but I'm glad you got to that. I'm glad you got to that because that's important. I mean, there are so many people that see the bull crap out there all over the place that you can make 6 figures in your pajamas and you can do this your first year and blah, 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 and whatever. And here's somebody with the experience of, and Jake's probably going to go, what is that? Where she used to probably put CDs in boxes and send cookies with them and said, somebody please listen to my demo.
I'm not that young, dude. Like my parents were still using tapes and stuff, man. Like I'm not that young.
I know. I just like giving you a hard time. And happy birthday, by the way.
Yes, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Now I go back prior to CDs. I was sending cassettes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's insane.
I used to do that. I had a live band that went around and played, and that was what we did. And there was a company in Nashville that would burn you like 100 cassettes for $100. And that's what I'd do. I'd go down there and get my 100 cassettes, and I'd send them out to all the Moose Lodges and VFWs and all the nightclubs around. And that's how we booked our work. And Of course, now you put up a website and just say, go see my website. It's easy.
Yeah.
Couldn't you smoke on airplanes back then too?
Yeah, you could. Hotel rooms, wherever. I never smoked, but you're right. Yeah. back in the old days.
A different time.
Well, Linda, you talked about your professional voiceover career and the fire you got to go and succeed. How did you transition into coaching? Where did gurus come from? Did you start with workshops? Did you start with one-on-one coaching? Talk a little bit about that for us.
I was working in New York City for a smooth jazz radio station. And, excuse me, getting over the cold and the flu that everybody has had.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And a mentoring company contacted me and said, would you be interested in mentoring people that are thinking about getting into radio? And so I'm like, yeah, sure. What else am I doing? You know? So I had a couple students join me for a few years. And I really enjoyed it, you know, and there was really no structure to it. It was more about them learning on the job and seeing what we do. And then I had students stay with me long after their, programs expired. And I found that I really love this. This is great. So then when I started working with Dave out of the production studio, and the studio started getting nicer, I was like, let me see if I can get some people to come in to learn. So everything was done, in person, and I used to do group workshops. But that was difficult. Not a lot of people want to stick to a commitment of going to the same place. I don't know. It was iffy for me with that. I didn't really love it. So that's why the online version became so popular for me anyway, and a better way to bring in students. So it just became, I feel like here I am in my mid 50s, and I'm looking ahead towards retirement and everything. And what do I want to do now? I want to pursue my path. I need to be passionate about something in order to do it well. So I have a lot of students that come to the studio that are on the spectrum. And a lot of them want to just express their creativity. And I love working with them. So it's just another angle. It's all performance.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm tired. I was talking about this with Paul Schmidt on his podcast. I'm tired of auditioning. I hate auditioning.
Right.
I'm just tired of it, and we all have to do it. And so my energy kind of goes towards the gurus because I have more passion for that. And I would rather see you guys. I love when I hear that you guys are, booking these great jobs, or you're, having a good connection, or you got an agent, or somebody decided to put you on a retainer. Oh my God, that brings me such joy because I know what that feels like, and I'm happy for others at this point. I'm not bitter and jaded about the business. We'll put it that way.
That's amazing. Good. And that's just another reflection about the VO community. We've talked about it so many times about how, there's multiple times where a couple of us will get the same audition, maybe rare occasion where we all get the same audition. I mean, and if any of us book it, we're just happy. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm sure we'd be happy if we knew the person who actually booked it. But at the same time, the community is just like that. And they love to see everybody succeed. And you don't really get that in some of these these other competitive type industries. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's really cool.
Well, going to in-person castings in the city, the women there were not nice. And they'd be sitting in the room just glaring at you,
judging you and whatnot.
Who are you? Why are you here? I mean, and it was just it's a bad environment. So it's become, I find, a lot more supportive in the online arena. I think it's because everybody realizes how hard this is. So we're in the trenches together.
Yeah. That's a really good way.
While we're on the gurus and training, and this is one of the questions that I have, and you guys are doing some great demos. Everybody thinks they got to jump in. I have to have a demo. I got to get a demo right off the bat. That's not the process. So explain to them. And that's where the gurus hit me as being totally different. This was the approach. It was different. They weren't going to just, here's your demo, go.
Yeah.
You take a different approach.
We take a different approach with creating the demo as well, because it's a very organic process. There is no set number of lessons for you to be ready for a demo. I'm not going to put my name on a demo if you're not ready for it, and you cannot produce the same quality results in your own studio. If it comes with someone that we're training that's in an online version, the first thing we do is we have to get the studio up to snuff. It has to sound good, because what's the point, Send out this shiny demo and then not be able to do it when the client hires you. So people sometimes are like, well, how long is it going to take? When am I going to get a demo? I'm like, I have no answers for you. And I can't promise you anything. And you know what? You may only have one read. I'm sorry, I can't make a demo with that.
Right.
So, and I like to get 6 to 7 good, different, varied cuts, reads, before we then send it to be produced. So it's a very customized. It's customized voiceover coaching.
As it should be.
Yeah. So then beyond that, once you have your demo, that's one thing. But then we have the online community, and we have the masterclass membership, and folks get a half hour of a mentorship with one of the coaches each month.
Wow.
So, if you want to set some goals, if you want us to review another demo, if you want us to work on I had a student just wanted to work on some character voices. So we did that in 30 minutes.
Cool.
And we stay with you just to help you, or I point you in the right direction, because I'm not a marketing person. So I'll point you to Paul, I know what we don't do. We don't do animation. So I send people off usually to the city or one of the studios there in LA. But, we have our limits. I'm not going to try and teach you something I don't know. But it's extremely customized. We make it for whatever your background comes into it too, And
there are a lot of people that come into this that voiceover ties into animations or cartoons or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
And they come in thinking that, and then they learn it's not. There are so many different genres. How long, a lot of times, does it take a person? And what I'm trying to get across to people is you have to work your way through this over a period of possibly years to find that niche where you fit, and then you go market to that because you're strong at it. Do you guys kind of work people through that process and say, here's your strengths, you should focus on this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to work in a lot of different genres, so I have a ton of scripts. And I throw a bunch of stuff at you to see, because that's how I found out. I had no idea I was good at promo when I first hit New York. And it took me going on several auditions to all of a sudden be like, oh, wow, I'm booking these auditions. And then from there, I wound up making a good portion of the money I've made from promo. But I wouldn't have known unless I'd been, given a script to try and given some feedback on it. So yeah, the whole coaching process is about finding your strengths. And maybe finding something about you that you didn't realize you knew you could do, you know, because there are a ton of genres.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I have recently booked about 3 different museum tours. And that's one of the things I never thought about. I just as we were sitting here, I just got a text that said, "Hey, we really liked you for the Casey Jones Museum." And I'm like, awesome.
That's cool.
You know, so it's really odd that the things you can get into, and a lot of people think of the glamour work, but really it's the in the trenches work that you can make the money and have the everyday work coming in. It's not, you know, sure. Yeah. The last year I booked a Pfizer commercial. I was blown away.
That's
I got
awesome.
my first SAG job.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I thought I'll never get one of those. And
I know.
But then after I get it, you know, the next day I'm back recording something for somebody, nobody will ever hear it and whatever. And the next day, some more of that, but it pays the bills, you know, until you build and get to that. And you got to pay the bills, because just because you start booking doesn't mean you're done coaching and growing.
Right.
You
got to always
to get that coaching.
Yeah. Well, I think you talked earlier about the confidence and arrogance even that actors need to have going into auditions, going into casting. That doesn't come just from self. It has to come from coaching, from peers, that you're getting feedback that you know you're good at this, and then you can walk with your head held high because you know you're good at whatever it is.
People you respect.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're gonna laugh. Right now I'm working on a big project. It's dubbing for a Chinese soap opera.
Nice. I love that.
That's why my voice is like this. I was working on it before we connected, and the stuff is nuts, completely nuts. The production is like,
it's a soap opera.
Yeah, it's just so bad. The acting is so bad. And they've got me doing like 15 different female voices. And I'm like, guys, I can only probably do 5. And then we go into accents. And you're not going to want a Minnesota accent for one of your Chinese southern things. So me and my friend are having a bit of a issue with that. But it's fun. It's something different too.
You know? Yeah, that's got to be. I know Charles has done some of the screen dubbing. I have done some real short stuff where just like a guy said 2 or 3 words and they wanted it in a Southern accent for some reason. And I've done a couple of those, but I can't imagine doing all that monologue.
That's probably not a popular Google search for your marketing, looking for Chinese overdubbing for soap operas.
No, this company actually found me by just Googling voice actors. Yeah. And she reached me through my website. And it's an Egyptian dubbing company for this Chinese production. So
interesting.
You don't know. You
got that SEO working.
Dude, I'm really thinking, and that's one of the focuses I want to focus on for myself this year is SEO. And I've already told the guys this. So we outside of this podcast, we are actually an accountability group. So we're talking every day. We're talking about, and that's kind of how this formed or whatever. But yeah, for people listening, and if you remember back to JMC's episode, he's talking about SEO. I really think SEO is really important. And just hearing you say that they found you through your website. Charles, you got that Velveteen Rabbit gig through your website. I mean, like, those are the kind of stuff that I want to get more of. I've had a little taste of that, but not to that extent. So that's great. That's great.
I booked HSN from my website.
Nice.
And I was their voice for 6 years.
Oh my gosh, that's
nice. Yeah.
Nice.
So
when you book them, was when you worked for HSN, was that promo work you did for them?
Yes.
And on your website, did you have promo samples? Or was it promo samples and they just liked your voice and then it worked into promo?
I have a couple of promo samples from years ago when I was the voice of TLC, the Weather Channel.
Awesome.
But
nice.
I worked for Disney for 14 years. Disney Junior for Southeast Asia. Okay. Oh. Fantastic. My dream client. I mean, ever since I was a kid, who didn't want to work for Disney?
Right.
But they would not let me post anything. So I could not show off. I still can't. You know, all I can do is tell you that I did it, you know. Right. And now they've removed all the YouTube. Thank you. Yeah. They've removed all the YouTube videos. It's the same for Pfizer. I was a voice for them for 10 years, was not allowed to post any of it. So HSN was great. They gave me sample videos to post. And it was a great gig. It was a great promo gig because there was a lot of variety. So I maybe one day was doing a promo for Bret Michaels. So I had to go like really rocker kind of thing. And then the next day doing something for, a Mary J. Blige promo where it was like sexy and soft. So you get to tap into all those various voices with some of these networks.
I love it.
And the best part is that it's a contract, and that even if you're not doing the session, you're still getting paid. So because I couldn't go work for, at the time, QVC or something.
Sure.
But he found me through my website, and then he did auditions with the people he found, and then narrowed it down. But still, it wasn't. He didn't like agents. He didn't want to work with agents.
Yeah. I think that's a change that we're seeing, that more of the younger people want to deal direct. A lot of them do.
Well, because they're just figuring it out.
They want to buy direct.
You know?
And I think that's contributing to the popularity of the online casting as well, because they can just go there and listen to a few people and pick somebody and move on.
How are you guys finding the people that are casting you? How are you finding them as far as, do they have knowledge as to what you do for a living? Or are they just letting you take the reins in your sessions?
I mean, for the most part, I would say 90%. They have some direction for you, but you're the professional. They're like, you're the professional voice actor. Like, give us your profession, give us your thoughts on it, give us your feel on it. Like you do, an extra, like, hey, can I do a wild take for you? And they're like, yeah. And then you do it, and they're like, that's awesome. That's what I was looking for. So I see a lot of that. And then maybe 10% they have, they have the whole lineup of people on the call, and
I love that.
The big boss walks in you could tell, right? You're on Source Connect or something, and you can hear them, but you can't see them. And you could tell the big boss walks in the room, and everybody's demeanor changes, and everybody has, well, can you say it like this? And then, they've been saying it to do it like this the whole time. Then the creative director says, well, I feel like it should be like this. And then everybody just changes everything. Like, yeah, that's what it should be. It's like, oh, come on, guys.
I hate when there's a new person. That's what I hate.
Oh, yeah. They have a lot of opinions. I did a session like a month ago for the first time in my life, a live directed session for an on hold message.
Really?
Isn't that crazy? I know. So all these
IVR.
years. No, it was an on hold, like, thank you for calling, that kind of shit.
Yeah. Okay.
And I've been doing these since probably the early, mid 2000s, where I've still got some of those clients. And they said, well, this client wants to actually coach you, which I found very interesting since we have AI coming into the fray. And they want to meet you and they want to see you work. And I thought, this is an interesting, okay, this is good news for us. Yeah, but they were like, what do you charge per hour? And I'm like, I've never done a non-hold, So I'm like, do 50. And they're like, all right, great, we'll book it. And there were 4 people in the session. There was an engineer, there was a writer, there was an executive for the actual, this is for an on-hold message.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Plus 2 clients. So
wow.
Jeez.
You said the writer was on there. There's there's an e-learning company that I'm doing. It's like an animated, like, gamification e-learning, which is
cool.
I'm going to post a little clip of that. They said I could here in the next couple of days, but it was really nice having the writer on the call, because the writer is writing it, and the writer is the one that's kind of like has this picture of the character and stuff. So the other people on the team, whenever they're coaching or directing, they go to the writer. It's like, and they'll say, is that kind of what you had in mind? And they're like, yeah, this is what I had in mind. So
they know the intent, right? And that helps you. And
it's their character, it's their character that they created. So I always felt that it's kind of nice, which it doesn't happen often, but when the writer is on the call.
Sounds like a fun project too.
Yeah, I like that too.
What I really like, and I know, Troy, you said you're not really too kind when, like, or not too kind. You don't really care when they're, like, new at it. What I do like is when, like, I offer someone, like, hey, would you want to hop on a Zoom call with me while I do this, just so we hit all the right notes? And they're like, I never thought of that. And then they get in there, and, you try to give them a good experience. And then afterwards, they're like, I really liked this. This was cool. Like, and who knows, maybe they took it into their next project with whoever they work with then. But I like introducing people to that concept, because then, that really, like, gives you the opportunity to, like, just get the job done there, then and there, right? You're like, okay, we hit all the notes you have, let's.
I had a nightmare newbie a few weeks ago. It was a company called Whitefish Credit. Whitefish. She said, you are not hitting the T in Whitefish hard enough. And so I had to say Whitefish Credit about 30 times. And of course, we're just smiling the whole time. Sure, I'll do it 10 more. Whitefish Credit. How was that, Butich? Sorry. No, I would have never said that. But your mind goes to all these places, and you're thinking, how clear? I don't know. I just couldn't get. How does it not sound like the word white? It's got a T in it, but I don't know. It's the little things.
Subjective preference.
It is. We were talking about, starting years ago, building up all these clients over the years. The industry's changed several times, but let's kind of talk about the last 5 years, and let's not talk about COVID. Let's talk about post-COVID. What are some of the things you're seeing, say in the last 3 years that have really, really changed in the business?
Well, the pay-to-plays have pretty much gone to crap. There's been a lot of issues there. There's no monitoring or regulation. It's a shame. And I'm really referring to the big ones.
Right.
Because, there's some smaller ones that are still good. I do think it's valuable to still list yourself wherever you can. I'm not saying pay $300, $600 a year for something. What VoQuent is great. Yeah, I know. These tiered things that I see, I'm like, this is nuts. But just being listed in several places, if you can do them as a freebie, I highly suggest that. But I feel it's really about, unfortunately, direct marketing, and just you have to just get out there and just reach as many companies as possible. Because it's just the pay-to-plays have been flooded now with people with no talent.
Right.
So,
I'm glad she said that.
More people in. I mean,
I'm so glad she said that. Let's run another Black Friday special and get everybody in for $99.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and it's terrible because it just waters down anybody that has any talent, unless you're getting the audition in, first or third. I mean, you're not going to get considered. It's a shame. So I find it's really more about making that personal connection with people. And it takes a lot of work.
Yeah. And I think that's where Jake, wanting to jump on a Zoom with somebody, that's like connection 101 right there.
Exactly.
Like you build that relationship, and now they know Jake's face. He's a nice guy.
They see my space.
They see your space. They work with you. They like with you. And now you're top of mind. I think I heard on another podcast, be top of mind to people, right? Because there's so many other voice actors, but just be top of mind. You're going to be the first person they think of. Somebody says something, they're like, oh, I know a guy, or I know a girl. And so that's super important too.
So something to think about too is it's a lot harder to fire a person you've met than it is a voice.
That's right.
Yeah.
So anytime somebody says, do you want to jump on a call and discuss a project? I'm like, yes, let's talk. Let's connect. So you realize I'm a human being, and I'm going to do whatever I can to help you with this project, customer service. Yeah.
Hey, on a personal note, I do know these guys may not know. Charles probably does, but Linda got married last year.
I did.
So congratulations on all that going on, all that planning and fun. But here you are, you're running a studio, VO business, coaching, production demos, etc. Talk a little bit about all this work-life balance you have to do.
Ooh. I have a beautiful book that I got. I'm going to show you.
We love visuals.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
So I asked for this for Christmas, actually.
Nice.
And you guys know of Clever Fox, right? They're Clever Fox, right? This bad boy is massive. Okay, so I got the big one.
Oh, nice.
And it basically gives you the month layout, and then you go through and you list everything that you need to do for the week.
Wow.
So what I do is everything's in my phone synced. I sit down, I write everything out, and then I put the goals for that day. And, it just takes 15 minutes, write it out. And then obviously things change, projects come up, somebody cancels. And then I max out as well myself on 3 students a day. I can't handle more than that, honestly, because it's more intense. It's very intense to coach someone. You have to be listening to everything. And then I keep myself as organized as I can. I don't have children, so I don't have to deal with that. But that's how I do it, because I think I would go crazy. I also have a lot of lists too.
Do you? It's sometimes you just have to draw the line that I have to have so much time for me to decompress, and you have to cut things off. And I think that's where a lot of us, as we grow our business, we get better at that. I've gotten way better at it at the end of last year and going into this year, that I know that if there's a family matter, I know to go in my Google thing. And if I got to block a half day or whatever, my wife's got a doctor's appointment, or I got something going on here at the house or whatever, I'm learning to block it and not worry about it.
No, you can't.
And I used to think, I've got to be accessible. I got to answer this. I got to be quick. I got to be fast. And you do, to a point. You've got to be responsive and et cetera. But if you're not careful, you can overwhelm yourself with your business.
Yes.
And that'll actually hurt your business. It'll reflect on your business.
Because it becomes addicting. You're being productive. Maybe you get a little hit here and there, and you're like, oh, let me put in another hour. When I started out and I was working from my basement, I would do these 12-hour days. It'd be insane. I'd be just down there looking for clients and doing my thing. But now, I know. You know what, though? And when you're building your business, that's great. That's, as long as you're not suffering, your family isn't suffering or relationships aren't suffering.
Right.
But now I like the fact that I have a separate studio. It's 10 minutes from my house.
That's awesome.
And I can just go and know that I'm here. I commit to my work, and then I go home and I grab a tequila and I slap my butt on the couch and grab a cat and don't think about voiceover,
Right.
Yeah.
I was talking with somebody the other day, and they're talking about vacation. We were talking about vacations, and he's like, I haven't been on a vacation in like 5 years. And he's like, he has 2 kids, and he's like, it's expensive to go on vacation. He's like, when is the last time like you remember and is a good vacation? And I was like, oh, Thailand. I went to Thailand, and it was like 8 years ago. And he's like, what was the big difference between that and any other little vacations you go on? And I was like, well, I kind of go on mini vacations, I guess, but they're always tied into work. It's a conference or it's a something, and then you do 2 days before or a day after. And he's like, you got to remember the word vacation, the base word is vacate. And he's like, he goes, when you go on a vacation, he goes, do you take your equipment and stuff with you? And I was like, usually I do, just in case. That thing. And he's like, you got to remember that just in case that you're thinking of, sure, it might be like $1,000 job or a $2,000 job, whatever it is, but it's in your mind. So you're not really vacating your booth, going to someplace else and being totally free and enjoying that vacation.
Right.
And he goes like, and you're not vacating your mind. You got to vacate your mind out of that too. And it's not just a vacation for your body, but it's for your mind and your soul and your family. So I don't know, when we're talking about that, it's just like that to vacate sometimes is really, really necessary for you to fully enjoy that experience.
Yeah.
I never felt comfortable going anywhere without my equipment. I mean, I was always nervous about it. I even went one year, decided to go to Norway, and I was like, this is going to be the one trip that I'm not going to bring my stuff. So I gave notices. I sent emails. I was sending emails like every 3 weeks, going to be gone this date to this date, this date to this date, all the way up. And when you know it, my agent contacts me and says, where are you? I'm like, I have been letting you know for months. I am in Norway. Can't you get on your studio? I'm like, no, this is the one time I did not bring it. He was so angry with me. And it's like, you have to have a life, for crying out loud.
Right.
And I felt bad, but then I was like, well, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I'm not going to find a studio here in Tromsø. We're in the Arctic Circle.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, not doing it.
I know I've heard Brian Lee on your podcast a few times, and we're going to get into all the other things here before we close up about the podcast and how to get in touch with Linda. But I've heard him talk about the handcuffs that promo network stuff, local network stuff. And I remember the episode where he talked about his wife kind of put the law down on one of the vacations and said, this is going to be a real you need this vacation.
He didn't go on vacation for 13 years.
Yeah. That's
wow.
amazing.
Yeah.
And if you 3 guys haven't listened to any of the episodes with him, you should. He's just wonderful talent. Sounds like the nicest guy. And I just enjoy listening to him and hearing all his stories. He's just really great to listen to. But the vacation one really stuck with me. And this year we go to Gatlinburg every fall for 3, 4, or 5 days, depends on what we can book. And this time I took nothing. And I tried not to even look at my phone And I came home feeling totally different.
Well,
Yeah.
And last year, I panicked the whole time I was there because, you're early in your full-time career and you're worried. And the year before, I didn't even go. I just didn't even want to leave the house, and I even got to a point that first year, I didn't even want to leave and run to the gym for an hour.
Yeah.
That's just too much, folks. Don't do that.
It's just that the more money you start making and the more successful you get, the more in demand you are. And it becomes very difficult to turn it down. It's like, because we don't know how long it's going to last.
That's
right.
There.
You're like, I got to take advantage of this opportunity because maybe it's not going to come again.
Yeah.
So, there is Brian Lee's story is he cannot leave from, he started to put in some parameters on his day as to when he starts and when he finishes because he works for the West Coast. So, but before that, I would be down there visiting and we would go to lunch. And he'd be like, I got to go back. I can't. He couldn't even go out for 15 minutes to get a haircut. His agent would be freaking out. So again, the golden handcuffs, you got to make a choice. Do you want to make $1 million and be tied to everything? Or do you want to maybe have your own life and not make $1 million, but still make some good money?
Yeah. I like option B.
Yeah.
I like option B.
I think there's desire in the middle of us, inside us too, to make sure we're making our clients happy, and we're making sure that we're there. Like I want to be there for my clients. I want them to have that trust in me to be like.
Well, they want to feel like they're the only client. You want to make them feel that way. You're the only one.
Yeah,
and that makes you different. That makes you stand out. A simple, action of replying to an email is huge. There's times when I've had to do some casting for one of my clients and I'll reach out to a couple talent and they won't reply for like a day. And I'm like, seriously? I'm not in my mind. I'm like, I'm not using you. Because if you're going to take 24 hours just to reply to me, I'm not even asking for an audition. I'm just saying, acknowledge that I emailed you, acknowledge if this is something that you're interested in. But I do that with every client. I don't care where I am. Hey, got it. I'll get to this at 3:30 today. Hey, got it. I'm slammed the rest of the day. Is it cool if I don't give it to you till tomorrow? Just something to let them know that she's there. She's on it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, man. Because that's how I am, and like it's crazy when people take forever to get back to you, and I'm always like, I just would never do that. You know what I mean? Like you ask me something, I get you an answer. I mean, like if I can't give you what you're asking for right away, I'll let you know when I can get it to you. Like so, it boggles me that when people are in a business like this or just in business in general, and like part of your you offer a service, like you got to be communicative, if that's the word. Is that the word?
Yeah. Another
it's close
tip, never be late. Never be late.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't be late.
Right.
I don't care.
That's true.
There's
Very true.
Yeah, I have it written on a sticky note. Availability is your ability.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Right.
You got good phrases, Charles.
Yeah.
That's Charles for
I
you.
like them.
Charles is about to have a blow up year. We've been calling it for the last couple months.
He's
Charles is
on the
about
cusp.
to blow up. Yeah.
That's great.
For
He's
sure.
about to forget about us. So
Aw, no. If
We
he's
give him a
smart,
hard
he
time.
won't.
We give him a hard time. Yeah.
He'll drag us behind him in his little red wagon.
Right. Well,
Alden, wrap us up.
Yeah, well, I want to give a chance here for you to talk about the gurus and what you see coming in 2024. Let our listeners know how, if they haven't tried out the gurus before, what's a good jumping in point for them to get training and coaching and how to find you, all of that.
So we have your classic website, but it's voiceover.guru. Okay. And we also have a circle community that I'm finding to be, I was looking for an option other than Facebook for everybody to get together because you can create spaces. So we have a lot of spaces in there for, mental health, for talking about your wins, and posting, things that are happening. But also, our courses are also listed in the circle group. So we have a couple of online courses. And if you are an online student, then we do the Guru Fundamentals course. It's all self-done. It's $3.99. It's a good entry point for you if you're thinking about this and not sure if you want to do voiceover. And then after that, we have packages that include some coaching. But then our packages go by like 4-pack or 6-pack. And that all depends on what your goals are. So if you're wanting to do a demo, maybe you start with a 6-pack and then we see where you're at. Maybe we've got enough material. If not, we're going to book another package. So an easy way to find us, like I said, is the website, voiceover.guru. But just keep in mind that you're basically being coached by 3 people that have been doing this forever. You're being coached by people who actually have worked and are still working in the business, which I feel is very, very important. I'm not trying to diss anybody who's just a coach. I just feel like we all need to be up to speed with what's happening in the business.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. You know, and if the person isn't working in it, if they're not working in it and they don't know, or they're giving you these old scripts, you know, the scripts we work with are the things, either jobs we booked or our auditions that came in that we're allowed to use. So I think that's what makes us different, is that we actually have the experience behind what we say.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, to Kevin has like 100 automotive dealerships in the country. You know, he's working like crazy, you know, and so
just signed a new big deal too.
Yeah. So it's good stuff. But that's what was the question?
What's coming up in 2024 for the Gurus and how to get in? I think you answered most of that.
Yeah, the community is really where the focus is. A lot of support there. We run some contests and we just have some fun.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's always nice to have that little extra thing in there, a little competition, little prizes, and make that group fun.
Yeah, we do a weekly script read challenge. Oh. So I post a script and then everybody posts their audition. And then everybody votes on who they think is the best.
That's great.
That's cool.
Yeah. And if we have time, we'll give you a little direction, which I did today for a few of them. But and everybody seems to like it because it's just, I try to do different scripts.
It's just a good way to be involved, and then just to kind of you allow everyone to see. You allow everyone that participates to kind of see what everyone else did, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
so it lets them get a feel for what everyone else is thinking, and that's something that I picked up. Doing some workshops with Troy, and it's just when you hear other people read things, like you pick up things, like you're learning all the time, and you should strive to always like pick up things here and there and learn, and that's really cool that you guys have activities like that and weekly things at that. So that's great.
Yeah. We do that online, but then we also have the online workouts. We usually do 2 of those a month on Wednesday nights, and right now we're doing one a month that's a narration, which we did last night, and another one that's commercial focused, conversational reads, but we max at 6 people. So it's like you get on the last night, everybody got to read twice because the scripts for, they actually did e-learning last night. And then the commercial ones, people get to read sometimes 3 and 4 times with different scripts. So you get a lot of attention for it. It's $65, so.
And that's a month. That's a monthly subscription, right?
Well, no,
that's per workshop.
Oh,
per
workout.
For the workout.
Okay, sorry,
The masterclass membership, the one where we have the mentor, the half-hour mentorship every month, in addition to the resources, is $49 a month. And you can cancel anytime, but and then as the months go, you work towards either getting a free lesson or getting some swag, all the crap that we give away on these voiceover things.
And all this pricing is available on the website?
Yes, everything's on the website, voiceover.guru. And like I said, the Circle community is free to join. So you can go, you can participate in the script reads, you can participate in the contest. You don't have to pay a dime for any of that.
Yeah, that's cool. And that's the thing. I think those prices are very reasonable especially for what they're getting. And whoever's listening to the podcast that's new and that you're trying to get a little money up to save for these things, just if you go in there with the mindset of, hey, this is an investment that I'm making. It's not just like, well, I'm losing $60 or it's going out the window and I'm just going to. If you go in there with the mindset of, I'm going to learn, and this is an investment for my business.
You're going to use this too.
It's huge.
Yeah.
I mean,
that
you
is
have to
huge.
invest. You have to invest something if you're starting.
All the time.
Exactly.
All the time.
We talk about that a lot.
And let me reiterate my number one pet peeve about workshops. If there are 6 people in there, you better listen to the other 5 read.
Yeah.
Don't mute yourself and turn your camera off and practice the whole workshop until it's your turn to read, because you are missing out on 5 other coaching sessions. Come on, people, pay attention.
Yep.
I see that happening all the time, and they won't turn their camera off, and you can tell they're looking over there at their monitor and their mouse just to go in, and and I thought, don't do that. You're missing out, because, and I've seen so many times, then they would come on and read, and they'd make the exact same mistake the person before them just made. They wouldn't have made that mistake had they been paying attention. Don't do that. You're paying for this.
Exactly.
And get every minute out of it. This is how you learn and grow. And you're not going to get a thing out of it if you're not paying attention to everybody else.
Right.
It's funny you say that, because that was me when I very, very first started. And here's the crazy part. It wasn't for me to practice. It was
to impress who was holding the workshop.
It was for me to be on mute and to be like, okay, Linda's watching me. She sees I'm working hard. Like, how stupid is
sure,
I mean,
sure. Yeah.
You just don't know.
And he's the one that's going to have the blowout year, guys. So.
I heard somebody running a workshop a while back, and this person went to get on to read, and he goes, "All right, I watched you revving up your engine. Let's see what you got." And I knew it was, and I thought, oh boy.
We know what you're doing when you're moving your lips.
One thing I want to just mention, when you go to the website, voiceover.guru, this is for newbies. You haven't even done anything. I offer an assessment, a 20-minute assessment online.
I see that right here.
Oh,
it's I think it's $50.
Oh, now Jake's doing his research.
Yeah.
Hindsight is 2020.
It's $50, but the thing is, if you decide you want to do coaching with us, and we've said that this is something you could possibly do well at, you can apply that as a credit to a coaching package.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I apologize for picking on Jake. I don't know.
I love it. I love it. Honestly,
I've done it since day one. I just can't stop. I don't know why I can't stop. It's addictive, and I'm sorry.
I'm an easy target.
On his birthday, too.
Yeah. I get the most pleasure when people pick on me, especially when it's accurate. So, I mean, like, I can't help it. I mean, like, I love it. So, yeah, no, you have nothing to apologize about.
That's a great point.
Well, we've gone for quite a while here, and Linda, we value your presence and the great information you have, but we also value your time. We know you're very busy, and we're so grateful that you agreed to come on and be a part of the Another VO podcast.
Yes,
thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And for those that know and don't know, a lot of you do know, I mean, I have to give the gurus a ton of credit for me getting where I'm at, because I was learning and I was coming along, but had I not gone to their workshops and launched from there, I wouldn't be where I'm at. So they have been very, very beneficial in what I'm doing, and a big part of it. And that's why I'm so adamant that this is where you should go, because you're going to get good, honest feedback. You're going to get the right type of coaching and career direction. They're not going to mislead you. They're not there just to take your money. There's passion involved, and that's what I love about them.
I think JJ really helped you a lot. When you were first starting out, Troy, he was kind of, really invested in your success.
And being my neighbor didn't hurt. We got to eat breakfast a few times, and I do miss him and wish him the best.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Thanks.
Well, let's wrap up. It's been another VO podcast. What a great guest you've been, Linda. We're so grateful for you. And with a special guest host, Charles Coates.
Our guy in the field.
Yep. And for Jake and Troy and Alden, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of It's Another VO Podcast. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. You can also email us your questions to anothervopodcast@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at Another VO Podcast. See you next time.